Yeah, true. I
All
mean,
right.
it was painful to watch in some cases. Just
Speaking of painful, let's get this show on the road.
you said it, not me.
We got a lot to talk about. No, not really. This should be a short one.
I don't give a damn.
I just cursed us. You ready, JD?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Whatever. I don't know what's going on, but hey, that's cool.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people.
Right.
You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese and France, Mickey. What? Royale with cheese. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And John.
GD.
The Christmas season is upon us, fellas. How are you guys doing? How are you, JD?
I'm good, man. Super busy. Wrestling has been very eventful. I had 4 straight days of coaching. We had 3 high school events.
Your son did well.
My son did well today. But we also hosted the tournament, so I had to help set it up and tear it down. And I had to go to my classroom and make silk screens for shirts and speak of the devil where he may appear.
Appears.
What's up?
I just want to show.
Oh, you drew Spider-Man? Oh, it's the Scarlet Spider. We're going through a Scarlet Spider thing right now.
Oh, nice.
I do. He's got thumbs up.
Ben Riley's the best.
Big Ben Riley fan.
Yes.
Big Ben Riley fan. Yeah, Close the door, buddy. Thanks. So yeah, he did good today. He won his first tournament.
Cool.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, very proud of him.
It's awesome.
He wrestled well. He woke up this morning. He was like, "It's tournament time." He was so fired up. And then before his first match, last year he didn't get nervous before. He didn't know what was going on. This year he's like, "Dad, I'm nervous." I'm like, "That's okay, buddy. Everyone gets nervous." The truth was, I was terrified for him. Like,
yeah.
It's
of
way
course.
more It's way more. He's 6, and I'm getting nervous before he wrestles matches. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, it's just wild to me. But yeah.
Yeah. My daughter was on a swim team when she was, I want to say 8 or 9, and she just wanted to swim. She didn't care about it. But yeah, I and she never got nervous. But I was like, wait, how's she gonna do? Where's she gonna place?
Well, it's like, his dad's the coach.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, he knows all the high school boys, and like they've all kind of like looked after him since he was little. So there's like, I worry about him with pressure and stuff like that. But he seems to be doing okay with it. He just wants to win.
Yeah. Just
fun.
like his dad.
His dad likes winning. Dad likes winning a lot.
Cool. Well, that's good to hear. How about you, John? What's new in your world?
Nothing really. Just trying to wind down the year. Kind of tired of this year. I want a new one. The warranty in this one's run out. My battery died. I've had Subarus for so long. My battery dies, and I jump it for the second time in like 2 weeks, and it turns out that like when a battery dies on a Subaru, the computer forgets how to mix the. Like, I'd never heard of that. I'm not a car guy, but now I know. And the other thing is that there is a huge, what do you call those legal things where like everybody's in on it?
Class action?
Yeah, that's right. Class action. There's a huge class action lawsuit for some kind of electronics in Subarus where if you take a lot of short trips or something software, it drains the battery completely. I had a new battery only a year ago. So like in the middle of a really hectic week, I had to get my car towed because it forgot how to drive, which is just awesome. I love technology. And it literally forgot to eat. That's what it did. It forgot to eat. It forgot how to eat gas. So in the midst of all that, I basically had to finish putting up the lights, which you can see in the background. Of course, you people that are listening can't see that. And I finished my Christmas shopping, and now I've got my living room all set up for wrapping, and I've got about 70 presents to wrap. So really fun.
John O'Grady, DC. I mean, DJing.
DJing.
Wiki whack. Rapping.
DJ John OG on the ones and twos.
I'm about 40, maybe 50% done my Christmas shopping. So
it's been a weird Christmas though. It's like by last year I had everything and I had everything wrapped already, and this year there's like I'm fighting with like 3 different companies to see if they're going to I ordered everything in the middle of November, and they're still like, I may not quite be there yet.
I got a delivery, so I ordered a lot of stuff from Amazon. I got the first delivery today, and I went through the list of what was supposed to be in there, and I opened it, and 2 things were missing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And one of the things that was missing was a hard drive.
What? Ooh.
For my son wanted a new solid state drive for his gaming computer. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So long story short, they were going to replace it, but trying to deal with Amazon's customer service is a pain in the butt.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's the holidays. Merry freaking Christmas. I mean, JD, are you ready for Christmas?
Snow's coming down, Christmas. I don't know. I have no idea. This is wrestling season. That's all my brain's ever on. The wife's taking care of all the Christmas.
Oh, I see how it is.
I don't know how you juggle all that. I really don't.
Me neither. I don't either. I had to go to class. There I am talking about myself again. I had to go to I had to go to class.
We'll get to that, right?
I had to go to class twice over the last 2 days just to get stuff ready so the kids can finish their final. Because so we do screen emulsions. Do you guys ever do silk screening for t-shirts?
I've never done it, but I understand the concept.
I have never done it either until I had to teach it this year. And then I had to figure it out. I've actually gotten to understand it pretty well. Well, I was gone for a tournament last week. So I had my higher level students create the screen. I pour the emulsion on the screens for the lower level from my graphics 1 students. That's just how it's done in the class. So when I was gone, I said, okay, you guys know what you're doing. I need this done. Well, they left the emulsion out, with the lid off. So again, still new at this. So I put the emulsion on for the next round of screens, and it wasn't coming off. So I had to buy new emulsion, and we were running out of time because it's all just kind of time set, right?
Yeah.
So I had to reset this for all these kids and redo it on my own. And teachers don't work hard enough as well.
No.
That is that.
And what are you making with the t-shirts? What
t-shirts? That's their final project is they do make a t-shirt. They design a t-shirt.
They design it. Okay, that's what I meant.
They design it in they design it in Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and then we print them out on the positives, and then they have to paint the t-shirts. They have to use the silk screening process to there's a black and white t-shirt.
So you're teaching them how to do merch drops when they're YouTube
dude, you should be, honest to God, you should see how many of them did shirts to promote their YouTube pages or their Instagram. It was hilarious. There's several of them there's several kids that are doing these classes because that's what they want to do.
I weep for the future of humanity.
We're our podcast. Who are we to say that about anybody?
Yeah, it's true.
We're the problem. That's how, believe me, this job, this was part of my resume, was the fact that I've been co-hosting a podcast for 5 years.
Oh my God. You're right. We are the problem.
Yes. We've done nothing but my kid wants to be a YouTuber.
Yeah,
right?
but we also have real jobs though, right? All of us.
They don't get it. They don't get that's real jobs. That this stuff is a hobby.
Yeah.
They think that they're going to make millions doing this. I thought about it filmmaking. I thought I was going to be a millionaire.
That's the problem that's what I was going to get at is that there are so many of not so many, but these people who make it big, right? Who get popular doing something on YouTube and they make money off of it. And then everyone thinks, oh, I can just do that. Right. Yeah. And I've heard people argue. It's well, that's a job. It's it's a job if you can make money at it.
It is a job if you can find a way to make money, good for you. Because that's it's a hard thing to do. The Paul brothers, they have questionable things in and of themselves. Yeah. But as far as what they do to make their living, good for them. It's hard to cultivate a following.
And it's a crap show. It's a crapshoot. It's a total crapshoot. Like
Oftentimes
whether or
it's
not
a crap show, but yes.
Well, yeah, you have the Logan Paul, right? So, but the thing is, like, yeah, you never know what's going to pick up. So, like, even if you work as hard as anybody's ever worked in that field, you probably still won't get there. It's like being a millionaire. You're either born into it or you just happen to have the right whatever. But it's just, but that's it.
I mean, it's funny, right?
Can't count on it.
The internet has removed the barrier to entry for the most part for a lot of creative ventures.
Not just the internet, but I mean, digital revolution of 20 years ago, right? The barrier for entry is a lot smaller. Like we're doing this on high powered laptops that, 30 years ago would be like fiction, right?
Yeah.
Like in like webcams that are pretty solid. Like the barrier to entry is just cheaper, and the internet has made learning these things far more accessible. So, but that also levels up the competition. Everybody's trying it.
Right. Not only that, like comparing it to like music, there are a ton of extremely talented musicians who are still playing in a garage with their friends.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's an aspect of this that people don't talk about, because everyone's like, oh no, it's hard work. I got to work really hard at it. It's like, yeah, you got to work really hard at it, but there's also an aspect of luck and hitting the right thing at the right time.
But that's been the case of musicians and filmmakers for decades now. Like, and sometimes you just get lucky, and actors, and sometimes you just get lucky. And the thing is, though, if you are lucky, if you're just lucky, you wash away. Like one-hit wonders, man. We hear about them all the time. And same with filmmakers. Michael Cimino, like he made The Deer Hunter, this brilliant film, followed up with The Gates of Heaven. Nobody heard from him again. Like these things happen. If you're actually talented, you'll stick around. If not, you'll get your 15 minutes. And boy, Warhol was right about that 15 minutes thing.
Oh yeah.
That's real.
It still holds water today.
Hey, mongrel. Sorry, visitor.
I mean, it's funny because this came up actually in conversation this week. There's a band, when I was heavily playing in bands 20 some years ago, there was a band, a bunch of kids. JD walked away because he's dealing with a dog. There was a bunch of kids in a band called Silvertide, who were in the scene.
Name.
What?
That's a great name for a band.
They were in the scene with us. In fact, their lead singer Walt couldn't play in some clubs because he was underage at the time. So they did a showcase here in Philly, got picked up for a major record deal, had a video on MTV, did a tour, but they were a very classic rock vibe sound. So this was early 2000s. They were a little early because now look at Greta Van Fleet is one of the biggest bands out there, and they're very similar in sound, but Silvertide just wasn't the right time. But I remember watching these kids when we were in the band, because I say kids because they're a good 8 to 10 years younger than me and my brother and the lead singer of our band. And it was like, these kids have talent. Like they had the it factor too, but they just did not hit at the right time. The sound wasn't the right for what people were listening to.
My cousin-in-law in the mid 90s signed, he was a drummer for a band called the Pulsars. You've never heard of them, but they signed a major record label contract, and people thought they were going to be big. Like they had a video that was on MTV, 120 minutes, I think was the Matt Pinfield alternative show.
Yes.
So we had a video. It was awesome. It was so cool to have like my cousin-in-law's band like on this, and people thought they were going to be big, and they didn't quite make it. And I rediscovered their stuff in the mid 2000s, and I put it on, and it had a very like retro 80s sound.
Yeah,
which was cool. But in 1995 or 1996, that wasn't the right sound. It wasn't like they came around either too late or too early, because again, they had a retro 80s sound. So in the 80s, it probably would have been fine. And in like 2005, when that retro 80s thing was cool again, it probably would have worked, but they came out, they were wrong place, wrong time. And like, they weren't even a one-hit wonder. They were one of those bands that gets signed that you never really hear from.
Yeah. I think the problem with podcasting,
there's lots of problems with podcasting.
Like it did start out being something like just regular people doing it. And, some people it hit, some didn't, but then like all of a sudden comedians and celebrities started like, oh, I'm going to do a podcast. That's what everyone's doing. And then, like, I wouldn't say Joe Rogan was a huge star before his podcast?
Oh, he will. I mean, depending on what circle you like, he was always kind of a middling comedian, but I mean, he's real big in MMA because he's been the voice of the UFC for 20 years.
He had something to build. He had that to build on.
He was.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like he had a following, and then ends up with the biggest podcast. The what you call it, the Nerdist. Chris Hardwick was already had a following as a comedian. He had like one of the biggest obviously Kevin Smith. It's like, so like, how do you get, you've been doing this for almost 10 years. How do we get into this space?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's tricky. You got to build that following. You got to be good. I think we're good at what we do, but I mean, like, I don't know. Like if we apparently had this to be better.
Apparently people beg to differ though.
No, they like you.
I was gonna say
they like you.
I feel special. I'm the only one that didn't get picked on by the audience this week.
Yeah,
I know. We got buried.
They hate me, and I don't know where the JD thing comes from. I really have no idea.
I do. I get it. I understand.
So, boys and girls, it's time for social media madness because.
John and I bury this every week, and we took the brunt this week of thoughts. So
yeah, and madness is quite apropos this time around. I mean,
this first one, this is so special.
That's what they said.
Tay Frost said, "Been listening to the show for about a year now. I really enjoy it. It's become one of my top podcasts. But guys might want to consider replacing or making JD part-time. It's annoying that he always is unavailable and he's a bit of a conversational narcissist. First off, what the hell is a conversational narcissist?
It is someone that tends to make things about them. I don't think I do that.
No, you don't.
No, I actually know conversational narcissists.
I do tend to say, okay, I know a story about. I'll tend to tell.
Yeah.
I'll tend to tell stories that I'll tie back into something that I know or that I've seen or whatever. So my wife thought it was hilarious. Everyone I know thought it was hilarious. I put controversial narcissist when I retweeted because I thought it was funnier. But I mean, in all honesty, like if that guy likes the show but doesn't like me, that's perfectly fine. Like we go out of our way to try to put ourselves out there and try to make yourself a bit of a public figure, and that comes with criticism. And you're not going to get everybody to like your stuff. Like I've gotten some. I'm doing it again. I've gotten some book reviews that haven't gone very well. Most of them are great, but I get some that are just like, this sucks. And it's like, that's okay. If you have something to say and everybody likes it, then are you really saying anything? Right? Like,
right.
Again, I'm perfectly fine with somebody not liking me or my takes on stuff. That's fine. Like, buyer beware. Like,
I kind of feel like, when we do a show and we all agree, it's boring.
I agree. I mean, you have to have that. And again, my way of, and I do this a lot in coaching too, is I tell stories, right? I'm a writer. It's what I do. Like, and I tend to shape things. Okay, this is, look at this. And if you don't like that kind of thing, you're more than welcome to. This guy, I think it's funny. They created that
I was going to say
account in this month. I'm like, wow, they did this just to.
I feel like they created the account just to do it, which makes me wonder. Is it someone maybe or we know?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because they didn't tag me, right? They just said, which is fine. They didn't want me to see that, and I never would have seen that had you not tagged me.
Oh, of course I'm going to tag you.
No, that's fine.
Come on.
They can but they can not like me. I don't need everyone to like me. Like, I prefer it. But I mean, like, if you really, there's something about me that you don't like. I mean, I don't like Joe Rogan, and he's the most successful podcaster in the world. So, I mean, like, that's perfectly acceptable for someone not to dig what I do. I do find it funny that the post had one like, and it was from my co-host from my wrestling show that saw that, liked it, and retweeted it. And I'm like, you are a bastard. I hate you.
Right. So let's start off. My response was, thanks for feedback, but JD isn't going anywhere for now. O'Grady, on the other hand, might need a talking to. ... I
thought that was funny. And it's not like I missed the show, but we do this on Sunday nights. And there's sometimes you can't do it on Sunday nights, Dave, being the leader and the guy who records the show.
Right.
I have practice on Mondays.
So that's what I'm going to say. I want to clear the air right there. Like, JD's busy on Mondays, and I'm the one that screws things up by having something on Sunday. So I want to switch to Monday. So then JD can't make it. Luckily, we have a lot of friends in the community that can step in a lot of times, but Yeah, like
fine. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. If you don't like me, that's okay. It didn't bother me. I didn't get upset. I laughed. That's why I retweeted it. My wife thought it was hilarious. You know, it was funny.
I don't know who Matt Davis is. He said, God forbid JD.
I went to high school with Matt Davis.
Okay. So God forbid JD has a life outside of the podcast and is unavailable.
It makes me sound like I've been on the show all the time, you know, like, but there are times. I mean, there are times like, again, like I missed my wrestling podcast last week because I was on the road traveling. I mean, like, I get it. If it bothers you that the show, the hosts aren't the same, that's okay. And maybe he disagreed with me on last week's John and JD headbutt session.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
I threw a reply up there and said I was really insulted that nobody thought it was me after last week.
But thanks. Thank you for the opinion. I appreciate it because I'm trying to get better too. Right?
Exactly.
We all got to get better at what we do.
I think we all need to get a little more narcissistic.
I don't have that problem apparently.
That's just the thing though. Is part of podcasting is being a bit narcissistic, right?
Absolutely.
That's
you have to want to talk about yourself. And you're like, Julie, you have to be a narcissist to do
You can't do it without that component.
Well, that's why when I'm gonna fight, I'm not gonna say I'm not a narcissist. I mean, like, of course like you have to be willing and enjoy putting yourself out there to do the things that we do. And like, quite frankly, I do this for a lot of things. So, you know, again, I take the criticism. I get it. I don't disagree with it. I don't know if I agree with the application in this process, but again, to each their own. Thank you for listening. Thanks for the download. We appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to skip over the next one real quick because that one is kind of about me. So everyone knows last week we kind of had a fun conversation.
I said before the show, this is going to be a short episode. I was wrong.
About gatekeeping anime. Is that the safe way to put it, John?
No, because I don't think I'm gatekeeping.
Stick to your guns.
No, I seriously, you wouldn't call Cinderella anime, just like you wouldn't call My Hero Academia animation, right? There is somewhere between those two a threshold, although for different people it's a different threshold, but there is a threshold somewhere.
Isn't it all animation, but like you're breaking up into subgenres? Like it's animated.
Yes, but the thing is that, I mean, historically, anime has been Japanese anime. Now that term is
Japanese animation.
Right. But it also includes a whole treasure trove of tropes, of types of dialogue, that sort of thing, of fan service.
This is why I hate labels, because like you put labels on things and then it becomes the minutia of what is what.
Well, I know, but here's the thing, like over the years, I've been thinking about this since last week. Over the years, the term anime has been broadening. And just like we had this quote unquote discussion, I'm using air quotes last week.
We had a talk. It was a good talk.
But there's been a huge, and I'm using air quotes again, discussion in the anime community about what the term anime applies to, because now you've got anime, quote unquote, coming from China and India. You've got other countries that are getting into this, and then you've got Netflix bankrolling stuff, and now Disney's trying to get. So the term is broadening, but there's still some threshold, and I guess again, it's going to differ for different people, different subsets of the community as to where that threshold is. But there is a threshold between what is considered anime and what's considered Western animation, right? Like the biggest discussion I heard about that was with Avatar: The Last Airbender, whether or not that was considered anime.
All right, so hold on. Let's get to some of these tweets.
We get a lot on this one.
The Gorilla Brain podcast said, "Can someone let old man Grady know that Akira Toriyama allowed the ocean dubs to happen super edited, watered down for American audiences and didn't release them uncut in America until August of 2000.
That's Ray, by the way. That's our friend.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but the Funimation dubs were way before that. Like there were two other dubs, and they are like, I remember when they switched from one dub to another, and that was in the mid 90s. Like it's been broadcast in America since I think probably early 90s, maybe even late 80s, just after it started airing in Japan because it was so popular.
Randy said, I feel gatekeeping always diminishes the community.
See, everybody's saying I'm gatekeeping. I don't think I am, because again, there will be for each person, for most people, there's like thresholds of between Western animation and anime. Like,
but the fact that the fact that you're defining them is what I think is what people are interpreting it as gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Well,
so hold on.
I know someone has to keep those gates.
Let's hold on. There's more. There's more. Hold on. So Kassan Warren, who we haven't heard from in a while, I was getting worried about you, Kassan.
We gotta get him on the show sometime. He always has thoughts
concerning this. Okay, so first off, he had a like a long tweet here. So concerning the streaming wars, everyone is sleeping on Paramount Plus. They have over 46 million subs and have plans to invest billions in content next year. I need you guys to really check out Strange New Worlds. He has been beating that drum. We need to do it.
I'm not kidding. I will not this is personal. I will not invest in Paramount Plus until the new Frasier comes.
Okay. All right.
Oh my, that'd be a reason for me to drop it.
I love Frasier. It's one of the greatest sitcoms of all time. And my wife loves it too, so I don't have a choice. We're going to be getting it when that happens.
Okay, so here we go. Concerning Disney Plus's partnership with Kodansha.
How do you say it, John?
Kodansha?
Kodansha.
I don't think Disney is buying IP. I think they're using Kodansha's expertise to anime his eye. Oh my God.
Anime eyes?
That's
hard to say.
Disney IP. I like this decision. Star Wars as animation has produced some great stories. The only thing I hated was the animation style.
I don't think that's what that says in the press release, though. They make it abundant in the press release that they're going to create new stuff.
Right.
Right. Okay.
I can see the animization.
Oh my God.
Animation of Disney IP such as Marvel and Star Wars. There are already an X-Men Japanese anime series. There is. I liked what they did with that product.
You ever see remember the X-Men TV show, right, from the 90s? They did the intros different for the Japanese version, but it's far more like animeized, for lack of a better term, and it absolutely
I don't know if that's a term.
It is now.
Yeah, because anime always has like anime is littered with awesome intros.
I'm taking credit. That's what I do. No, it's awesome.
You're a narcissist.
Because I'm a narcissist. Just a puppy. No, but actually for the old X-Men show, they had it. It's freaking fantastic. It's so cool. You look at it like, wow, why couldn't the rest of the show look this cool?
Wait a minute, you're talking about the American
90s.
The 90s. The 90s.
No, they had their own. Like in Japan, they had their own.
I know, but it's hard for even with the anime thing added onto that. It's hard for me to imagine one that was more hardcore than that. That was awesome.
Theme was great for the X-Men. No argument.
Yeah.
The animation. Yeah.
Oh well,
very 90s.
It was
It was very 90s. You're right.
Yeah.
Very 90s, which means very not good.
Very, very good. 6 frames a second or something. Like, just enough to trick the eye into thinking this is like animated.
Like a step up from like some of the Lou Scheimer shows of the 80s.
But his final point.
Funimation.
One more thing. John is fighting the usage of the word anime when applied to Disney because it dilutes the definition of how anime has been understood.
Yes.
Sounds like he just wants anime to be self-contained and Disney's product as animation. Like DC animated movies.
It's not what I want. There is a $29 billion community around anime
that Disney does not care about.
Well, no, the 29 billion is why Disney wants it, right?
No, they want a part of it, but they want to create their own. Like Disney doesn't want. We said this last week, and I'm going to say this one more time, and then I will throw the white flag and not discuss this again. Disney wants to do its own thing with anime. They know they're not trying to be what anime is. They're trying to be what in their corporate mindset they think anime can be.
Well, I mean, it's not for me to decide whether or not that will work, because like I said, the term, the concept of anime has been morphing and growing over the last, like, say, decade and a half, 2 decades,
if not
longer, because it became popular in Western nations, and now you've got other things like Disney, coming in. Or
but this thing is,
China,
they warmed our generation up to it with all the stuff from the 80s,
right? Although that was really cut to shreds.
But
So-
that's what I'm saying. That's how you warm something up to it. It's if Voltron is a gateway drug, essentially.
True, Max.
Like
Ross,
one
I think
minute,
that's-
one
yes,
minute you're watching
true.
Lion Force. Next thing you know, you're standing in line with your bleach magnet.
and-
like this is how this stuff happens.
And
real
real
quick-
first, you're watching Battle of the Planets, and the next thing you know, you found the original Gotcha.
Well, I'm younger than you, so I wouldn't have watched Battle of the Planets.
And that's what I say. And here's the other thing and this goes back to something we've said a million times on this podcast. You're looking at it as somebody who's been an anime fan for 3,000 years. I mean, 30 plus years, 40 plus years. But again, there's a whole slew of kids out there who've never even heard of anime. And if this gets them into it, isn't that a good thing?
It's the same thing. Comic, like it's
I know. I won't belabor that point. No, you're right. Anything that gets them into it.
So
what I'm saying is that of all the places, like when Sony wanted to get into anime, they went with anime community, companies, right? They went into the actual community itself. Disney, like JD is saying, wants to do their own thing.
Yeah.
So
I have doubts that they, in their corporate structure, although like they have a better chance than most, I'll give them that because they usually go in whole hog. But I have doubts that you can get into this with the kind of attitude that most corporations have.
I just don't think that I think they know what they do doesn't quite fit the construct of what you
and the current
anime
construct.
community think. Yeah. They're not interested in that. They just want a taste of it, and they want to create their own thing with those elements to it.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
there's one other piece to this. In the Geek World All-Stars chat,
of which I've never visited.
This is because the market share is like in the 20 billions.
Yeah.
And
here's
Disney says there's cartoons that are making money that we're not involved with.
Exactly.
This must cease.
So this all comes from Randy and Ray again. So
enter
first
the
is
meme of the mouse beating up the Jonas Brothers. But
first, this is Randy, right? This is he typed this out as he was actually listening to the episode.
I love when people do that.
Like everyone just needed to ask the other, explain yourself, even if you think you can't. Just try. And what's worse, I know the anime fan John was referring to. He's a nut job, the anime fan type, not John.
Oh, I was confused.
You and JD, meaning me, you and JD are like, the market will just create a new fan base. John's like, they will never accept those non-fans into the halls of anime. And me, I'm just like laughing at the whole thing.
Well, yes, that's what we do.
10 billion fans, he said. And there's like a gif of the I can't think of the actor's name or the character's name from Kevin from The Office laughing.
Like I said, at that point, I was kind of off the rails. And I had a few drinks even while
there's more. There's more. Let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
To which Ray replied, anyone that believes John's population census, and it's Terry Crews laying on the ground going, oh, the deception, the betrayal, man, you've deceived me.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised you didn't go with the elf, you sit on a throne of lies meme. You know?
Okay, so here's Randy again. So my question for him, meaning you, John, what makes it anime? Because it sounds like if it isn't made in Japan by old perverts, it's just cartoons.
No, again, the term anime has been growing. Originally Chinese animation was not a part of it. Now it's considered, that it's okay to call that anime. I don't know of any Western markets that have really broken into it though, because the mindset, there's a difference in the mindset, in the languages, right? And the cultures that just doesn't trend. There's a reason why in Pokemon, when they came on with like rice cakes, they called them donuts in America. There's a culture that just doesn't translate very well, that the animation community is used to and very fond of. And if Disney's going to make this, they're going to have a hard time like translating or enticing people over from the culture of the anime of anime that they're used to.
Telling you, I don't think.
I know you're thinking
concerned.
You're thinking they're going to get new people on.
They're trying to create their own fans.
Hold on,
right?
I like this too. Anime, while incredibly popular, is still a niche audience. Otherwise, Crunchyroll would have bought Disney at this point with their 10 billion strong in community.
No. Crunchyroll started out as a pirate site, and they went legit when there was so much money to make. And now they're saying that by 2030, it'll be worth $40-50 billion industry, right? So right now it's as of 2021, I think it's $25 billion industry. That's not nothing.
So Ray said,
and there's a reason Sony bought them. There's a reason Sony bought Crunchyroll and then bought and Funimation. You know,
Ray followed up with, John is an anime purist.
Snob is the term I think would be better to use.
I'll go with that. I am kind of a snob. Yeah.
Yes.
I at least I'm not egotistical or so sad.
A
Narcissistic.
Narcissistic. Get it right. Man, we took a beating this week.
I know. Holy crap.
Wow.
I feel like
Dave's sitting on the fence over there, staying out of trouble.
Unlike me, you know.
I feel like somebody hit me with a shuriken, but you know.
All right.
Kamehameha, but you know.
Now let's move on. Our good friend Drew C commented over on Facebook. He said, sorry, I'm listening on the move this week, so no live posting.
Don't be sorry for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I do want to open up a can of worms. That is how and when Nebula got Bucky's arm. Cause continuity is king. So he wants us to get, I was right. He wants us to go down that rabbit hole. Our audience wants it.
JD, what do you think?
I don't know. I forget what that argument was even about. I'm trying to figure out why people keep coming into my office when I'm trying to. What do you get that out of your mouth? Andy, take the dog and go to bed. Come on, I'm on a show. This isn't cool. Go to bed. Both of you two. Blonde monsters, get out of my office.
They're both blonde. That's hysterical. That's see, this is real life, though. We strive for
authenticity.
Authenticity, yes. Thank you. Awesome.
Fuck. Sorry.
All right.
What are we talking about?
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
My kid is authentically a nutcase. Sorry.
The argument was about when did she get the arm and which arm was it? And
I don't care. Like, it's a joke. I don't care.
So you think Bucky's just going to show up with an arm next time we see him and no one's going to know? I think they need to do a gag where he shows up without his arm and like Rocket's like, sorry, and hands it to him. See, we need that scene.
Sure.
All right, fine. Be a party pooper. Moving on.
Talk about me more.
Indiana Jones 5 is what we're going to talk about.
This is cool.
Of course, we talked about that last week. The trailer came out. JD's super excited for it because he likes old men.
I'm on this show.
Ooh.
Spend my Sundays hanging out with old men. Bump, set, spike.
That's fair. That's fair.
The epics of Enkidu said about the trailer, saw the trailer, felt nostalgic. Unlike the fourth movie, I would watch it. So I'm going to say that, yes. Like,
I don't think the fourth one was going for nostalgia.
No, they were going for, we're just continuing the movie.
Yeah, that didn't work. People didn't want that.
Well, no, they brought back what's her name to it.
Though. They did bring back Karen Allen.
I
almost say Karen Black. That's not right. Karen Allen.
Yeah.
Karen Allen.
Yes, Karen Allen.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They did do that, but like, did they advertise that? I forget if she was in the marketing campaign or not. It's been a while.
I don't remember.
She wasn't in the marketing campaign.
Yeah,
but there was a clip of like they were on an interview with Harrison Ford. He was on set via video and was like, "Oh, I want to show everyone there's someone here," and she came out.
But I mean, like, they didn't market it. Like, I think in 2006 we didn't have the wave of nostalgia that we've been riding now for marketing. Like, I think they tried to make a new movie when it turns out all we really want is the old movie.
Yeah. Random Randy Savage said,
God, I love that name.
He was too old in Crystal Skull, which was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Leave the old man alone and let him direct or produce or lie down. We should have gotten a new indie by now.
I don't think they're going to do that.
That's the one character Harrison Ford said he won't give up playing.
Yeah.
But you can't. How do you make a new indie? Why would you make a new indie?
Because we make an Indiana Jones, we have new we have new James Bonds, we have new Batmans.
I know, but there's a reason why. There's a reason why they don't make westerns anymore.
I feel like
not a whole lot of westerns anymore. It's
they
like
don't sell. That's the reason.
I honestly feel like you could have rebooted the series in 2008. Like it had been long enough. You could have had a new actor come out and just there's a new Indiana Jones movie with a young actor playing Indiana Jones. But they did the Crystal Skull with Harrison Ford. Now I think you're stuck until.
I'm very Missouri on this. I mean, you're gonna have to show me that it could work. I don't know if I buy it.
I think it could. It's just you have to find the right unknown actor.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you could have a star come in and take his place.
But
I agree with that.
You're going back to there are no new ideas in Hollywood. We're just going to keep mining the same thing. Yes. You're going to make Indiana Jones another James Bond. I mean, the whole.
To be fair, it was made because Spielberg and Lucas could not get the rights to do James Bond.
Right, but here's the thing: the whole premise of Indiana Jones is that he lives at a time when there are still places on the planet that have not yet been discovered, even let alone
James Bond.
But James Bond.
The time changes. He's not always stuck in the 60s.
Right. But Indiana Jones doesn't work if you shift. If you shift,
I agree with that.
If you shift Indiana Jones to now, we've satellite mapped the entire planet. Like they're using ground radar to find.
But we still have archaeologists.
I just watched a Godzilla movie about the Hollow Earth. It's fiction.
I would like to say they did reboot Indiana Jones. It was called Tomb Raider.
They didn't do it successfully.
Yeah,
I didn't say they did it successfully, but that is
Tomb Raider is basically
what's the other one with Nick Cage?
National Treasure, which no longer has Nick Cage according to Disney Plus.
I mean, but again, that shifts the focus from.
But there's nothing saying you couldn't reboot Indiana Jones and still keep it in World War II era.
Yeah, it's called a period piece.
Yeah, but then there's too many logistical problems with you're going to keep making movies. They're all over the 50s. Continuity comes into play. It gets messy.
Not with the reboot. When you reboot, you throw away the continuity.
I know, but are they going to do that every 10 years like Spider-Man?
I've seen 6 Halloween reboots. Like Halloween is basically an intricate web of reboots, and people keep going to those things for some reason.
Not lately, apparently.
No, people.
Well, the last
one did well.
It did well. It's not good, but people saw it.
Yeah, but the Rob Zombie one.
Well, that one didn't do well, so they rebooted. That's how reboots work. This is done. Do it again.
Reboot of a reboot.
Well, this was a New 52 reboot because
this was a reboot actually.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, though. It's like if it gets too messy, you're gonna.
It is very messy. The Halloween is the messiest film series ever because
there's that's not true.
No, it isn't. Fate Stay Night is, but I won't go into that.
I don't even know what that is. We're gonna leave that alone. But Halloween is for a mainstream American movie has the messiest continuity of anything, and people keep going to it if it's success. If it works, like horror fans don't care about continuity at all.
Yeah,
they don't.
I mean, the original concept was two movies,
The Boogeyman,
one Halloween night. And the character died at the end of the thing. He wasn't supposed to be immortal or anything.
Yeah, before he even got to space. I mean, geez.
He never got, to be fair, Michael Myers never went to space.
I know. Everybody else has.
And the whole thing is, they then, every time they've tried to reboot it, like H2O, and then the Rob Zombie movies, and then now the
David Gordon Greens.
The last trilogy. They're we're ignoring everything else because in the second movie is when they go, oh, they're brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to throw that away. But it's but then it's, I don't know. Then it's just garbage at that point.
I mean, that's the thing about Halloween is if you like Halloween movies, there's some sequel that you will like and some that you'll hate.
Yeah. I like 1, 2, and H2O. And I throw everything else away.
See, I don't like H2O. I think H2O is a bad movie. It's very much the guy who made Scream got to actually make a Michael Myers movie and forgot that he made Scream,
Yeah. But I kind of felt like because
it was a little too Michael Myers meets Dawson's Creek to me.
True. I just meant for the story wise, they did want to finally end it there.
But then they made another one.
I know, but that, and to me, I was like, that's the perfect ending. They decapitated him. That's how you kill the monster.
Then they brought him back. But they don't do that. They don't,
because they just erased the movie from existence. That's the whole thing. They didn't bring him back. They just said, "Oh, that movie didn't exist."
They do, but that's Michael Myers. They do that. They always pretend these movies don't exist.
And then finally, the Cruel Brain podcast said it won't be a theater viewing, but I'll see it for sure. So
I'm going to see it. I'm going to see this.
Yeah, we'll see it in the theater. We'll probably review it on this show.
I hope so.
And then finally,
Don,
our good friend Don tweeted at us saying, "The Omega Level Nerds podcast is not dead. I'll be back on the horse soon. Thank you for continuing to plug my little show."
Oh, so he's doing Westerns now. Okay.
I thought he was going to be back on heroines.
So that's good news, Don. We are happy to hear that.
Yes.
I think maybe we'll hear more about it next week, but we'll get into that at the end of the podcast. But yes, that is it for Social Media Madness. So if you would like to follow us on social media and be part of Social Media Madness, here's our good friend D Square to tell you more.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of Social Media Madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them at @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
And just remember, as you're listening to us, the first 3 minutes are the splash zone.
What?
What are you doing? All right.
We're not a video show, but I feel like I need to entertain you guys sometimes.
Thanks for that, Don. And don't forget to check out the Omega Level Nerds podcast, available on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. And on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back with the news.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, we're back. There isn't a lot of news, but there's some interesting developments from DC for this past weekend. So
everybody went crazy.
All right, so here's the timeline. I'm just gonna lay it out real quick. It started with an Instagram post from Gal Gadot saying she is looking forward to continuing on bringing Wonder Woman stories to the audience because she loves playing the character. The very next day, the news comes out.
It wasn't just her though, because Dwayne also had stuff on his pages talking about how much money Black Adam actually made. So this was concentrated from a lot of the. There's a lot of people that were trying to get narratives out there before the news cycle really took notice of what was happening at DC World.
Right. So the very next day, the first thing that comes out is Wonder Woman 3 is dead at DC. Like, or Warner Brothers, they are not moving forward with it.
They're not.
DC.
They're not moving forward with Patty Jenkins.
They offered Patty Jenkins a chance to redo it, and she said no.
She didn't want to stray from her vision
because Jeff Johns who took over? Who's in charge now?
James Gunn.
James Gunn, right. Jeff Johns is out. Right. So James Gunn, it did whatever she was doing didn't fit his because he's in charge.
That same day, hold on. That same day, an article comes out saying, and by the way, a lot of this news is up on our website too. So you should be going over to superheroespeak.com because I was crazy putting up articles this past weekend.
All right.
So that the same day, an article comes out saying DC is getting away from the Snyderverse continuity. Like they're completely going to reboot it. It's done. No more Snyderverse whatsoever.
Drew will be ecstatic.
Which people were confused because like they showed Henry Cavill. Everyone wanted that
a month ago.
So then, then the next day we get the Patty Jenkins is like, well, let me set the record straight. They wanted me to redo the movie. I didn't want to stray from my vision, so I I turned down their offer.
But I mean, keep in mind that her vision for the second movie was.
I saw a thing. Now I have no idea if there's authenticity to this or not. None. But this is what I saw, and I will report that because I'm not a journalist. I'm a rumor monger
and a narcissist.
And it said that
many talents.
Her tons, so many talents. They said that her pitch was Diana would fall in love with Hal Jordan.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Who would be? It gets better. Who would be a descendant of Steve Trevor, and Chris Pine would play Hal Jordan.
Oh, see, like here's the thing. Like she's a good director. I will give her that.
That's a little narcissistic.
She's a good director, but a terrible writer, and not for comics especially.
Because that's my thing. It's like
one was pretty good.
That's her saying, what? I'm going to direct how you're going to bring in this character into this continuity, and it was
right.
Like,
and that's the other problem because again, James
that's a little JD of her.
Wow,
harsh. Wow, dude, just keep piling on.
Damn. Not like we're talking about anime here.
And now it comes full circle.
Much more serious. No, I mean, to be fair, Hal Jordan, from what we've been told, the new Green Lantern stuff will revolve around Jon Stewart.
Yes.
So perhaps she saw an opportunity if this is accurate. I have no proof.
I don't think Chris Pine is as Hal Jordan, though. I don't.
Oh, I think he would. 10 years ago, I thought that would have been a great call. Like, think about the way he played Captain Kirk. Right, that was always very Hal Jordan to me.
Yeah, but I don't think it works now because he's already been Steve Trevor.
No, I 100% agree. 100, especially if the plan was that he was going to be a descendant of Steve Trevor, because I kind of feel like we did that in Wonder Woman 2. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's the story.
So the final thing was then James Gunn finally came out and said, "There's a lot of rumors floating around right now," and he said, "All I can tell you is." Some are true, some are kind of true, and some aren't true at all.
So they're still,
and we're still figuring things out, and we'll let you know once we have it figured out.
Right, but the thing we have to keep in mind is James Gunn is in charge. There were a lot of things in flight there, and David Safran, right? So those two are in charge. They're figuring out their 10-year plan, and all these things that were in flight are going to change. You know,
right?
And James Gunn has at least he loves the comics, right? Like, he knows his stuff. He's not going to let Patty Jenkins do something weird like that, or some of these other. So he'll right the ship, and at least we'll get something that we like to watch. Probably
it's a weird hill to die on. Like, I want Chris Pine to be Hal Jordan. And no, I won't stray from that. Like,
it might be more than that. Like, again, it's a rumor, and I cannot confirm it because I'm not a journalist, but it's interesting. And I don't know how much we're gonna get. Like, I'm more bummed if we don't get Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
Right? Because I do think he deserves another crack. But at the same time, if they have a take that involves fixing everything, because there's some crazy rumors that came out this week too, like Jason Momoa being done as Aquaman and now being Lobo, right?
Yeah, I saw that. But again, there's nothing to confirm that.
Nothing to confirm that. Same with Michael Keaton. The Michael Keaton Batman movie that was dropped was going to be Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Again, rumor. Who knows if this is real or not? And again, it's all speculation. But I mean, if those guys have a take that restarts everything, I can't be mad at it. Although I don't think it would, because like, again, the stuff that Gunn's already done is firmly rooted in what they've already worked on.
Right. I don't think it's a total reboot. I think they're trying to figure out what pieces work, who they can work with, and what direction makes sense.
So it's a rebirth.
No, I was about to say it's a crisis.
Oh yeah, that'd work too. Yep.
It might be a new 52.
I mean, like, no, the new 50. Yeah, it's kind of the new 52 was. The new 52. I just talked about it a couple weeks ago. I saw this thing on the new 52 that like it happened so fast that they didn't know what worked and what didn't. Like, they rebooted everything except Batman and Green Lantern.
Right, because these stories just kept going where they were.
And
that's because Batman like skipped around the universe reboot thing, and
it did, but it made the time
weird things.
It didn't work.
I mean, that was Scott Snyder had already written that story.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Court of Owls. That was
But
the new 52.
It took him a year to get there to the Court of Owls, right?
Right, but like that was his plan.
It was.
He had already written stuff to get to the Court of Owls, so it was just like they were like, "Oh, we like this. We'll just let it go."
It was the same with Jeff Johns, because Jeff Johns was in the middle of his Green Lantern epic,
Right.
which is probably the greatest Green Lantern story ever told. Right? He wrote it for like 5 years,
right?
8 years, excuse me. So I mean, like they didn't reboot that. Again, it was really sloppily planned, and I think that it sure feels like that's. But again, the original Crisis is the same way. Everything reboots in the Crisis except for Batman. Batman doesn't really reboot.
Uh-huh.
You know, everything else, and Green Lantern didn't really reboot either. You just got new origins for stuff. But then like Hawkman's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
You know, Flash doesn't reboot. Flash just has a new Flash. Like it's the Crisis is confusing, but not as confusing as what the new 52 turned in.
I mean, I know I'm on an island by myself for liking Wonder Woman 84.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, in that regards, I understand there's a lot of criticism for that movie, and I can see why Gunn would also be like hesitant for, you know, like without being able to say like, well, hold on, can we, you know, shift the story this way a little bit, you know? I mean, who knows? It's probably two headstrong movie makers that are like, well, I want to do it this way. Well, you know, you can't. I'm the boss now.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
it's not he if he's gonna come up, if him and the other guy, whose name I can't remember, if they're gonna come up with something that's gonna work for 10 years, then like other people are gonna have to get in line. Like
right.
It's survival for all at this point, not like.
Do you think
some must die so others may live?
Right.
Here's a question, and this is a serious question. Do you think
boxer briefs? That's the answer.
Do you think that Gal Gadot posted the thing about wanting to play Wonder Woman was her way of saying like, even if they get rid of Patty, I still want to keep playing the character?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, everybody wants her to keep playing the character.
Oh, everybody. She's great. My wife and I were talking about this today. We're like, she was born to play Wonder Woman. She's awesome as Wonder Woman. She's done it under 2 or 3 different directors now, and she's always good in it. Like I don't want to see another Wonder Woman right now because what she does works.
Right. Henry Cavill, the same thing.
I kind of feel like that's like one of the partially true things, because it was like Wonder Woman 3's dead and both Patty and Gal Gadot's out. I don't
think about it too. We also have a Shazam movie coming out soon.
Yep.
Right. That's in that continuity.
And the people like that one too.
Continuity. People did like Shazam.
Yeah.
Yep. And supposedly an Aquaman and Flashpoint, maybe.
Well,
I haven't seen anything about that in a while.
If anything, they can still use that movie to just basically cause the reboot, right? I mean,
I don't think. Here's the thing: I don't think you finish up and release those movies and then go, okay, we're doing a hard reboot right now. Like you can't. It's too much money being thrown away at that point for a company that's not doing well.
No, they're not. It's interesting because like you guys are a wrestling fan. Like one of the their wrestling property, they tried to launch another like a spin-off show and they wouldn't pick it up, and it's done well for their pay-per-views. So rather than doing it, they're doing their own streaming deal thing. It sure seems like WBD is not in a good place right now, like more than people think.
Yeah,
I think so. I think. I mean, I think we hit the nail on the head when last week we talked about how they're not going to put DC animation on HBO Max. They're going to put it on Amazon because they're looking for deals to make money right now.
They're going to get paid. Why? That's again, we talked about this too with eventually these companies are going to come to their senses and realize we get paid more by selling this stuff than $10 a month. Like again, you think that the subscription things are the way to go, but I think that's proven out maybe it isn't.
Yep. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully they announced something soonish. I think originally they said January they were going to make announcements, so it's weird that this is coming out right before the holidays.
I don't think they have a plan yet. I think they're still trying to nail down what the plan is.
Right.
Everybody wants to know what the plan is, but I don't think they know. I think they're still trying to figure it out.
Right. And I feel like that's part of it. Like they were negotiating with Jenkins on Wonder Woman 3. And I think that's what happened, is that the meeting probably fell apart and she walked out all pissed and started saying stuff. And then boom, everything hits the fan and all these rumors start flying real fast. And it's like, yeah, you don't know what's going on. Don't stop posting all this stuff. So, and that's what Gunn was trying to say. Like, hey,
oftentimes it's more important to get the message out first and to get the message out accurately.
Unfortunately, that's more and more true in our society. I was the first to post it.
Public relations, man.
Oh, I hate when you're watching a video and you look at the comments and the first post is just
there's your first mistake. You're reading the comments.
Like, but I've seen this over and over again, not just on videos on YouTube. I've seen it in other places too, where the first comment is just first.
Yeah.
Just to be like, oh, look, I saw this first. I commented first. Like,
congratulations, nerd.
Exactly. You're a dork. So, I mean, I know I know John's looking forward to the next Wonder Woman movie.
Not until not particularly.
No, you don't like Wonder Woman?
No, I just if it's done by James Gunn or like under his direction or under somebody that they hire, I'm fine with it. I'm sure it'll be okay. It won't be 84, which is what I'm hoping for.
And I think you have to give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt right now, because James Gunn and David Safran, because you just hired them. You have to have to see what they can do.
They're betting everything on these guys, basically. Yeah.
Proven as movie makers, but not proven as head producers on a huge
No, but
like
you have to give them their chance, though.
Right.
They need more than one movie. They need to do, like with Feige, like you needed time to prove that it could work.
Yeah. And also they have to prove themselves being thrown in the middle of a mess of a dying company.
It's tough. They're in a worse position than Feige was, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
with Feige, well, think about it. When Marvel was in trouble, Marvel had like bankrolled the future of their properties on these movies. So that was the film rights to everything was the collateral. Like Marvel Comics wouldn't go out of business, but they would never be able to control their own futures the way they have been if Iron Man doesn't work. Right? Iron Man works, they're okay. Eventually they're bought by Sony, and because they just had a distribution deal with Paramount at first. Disney, excuse me. They had a distribution deal with Paramount at first, those first few Marvel movies. Now, flash forward to this. Warner Brother Discovery is a mess right now. The Discovery merger has been far worse than anybody anticipated, because anybody that merges with Warner winds up in a worse position. They could just Warner Brothers is a monkey's paw. Warner Brothers is a monkey's paw of everything. Like, remember AOL? AOL was one of the most powerful companies in the world. Not after Warner Brothers came in. Yep. Turner too. Like, it just so much of this stuff.
But there was a cable company too that like they killed, right? There was another
time, right? Like, been a lot of stuff. Like anything, Warner's been merged with many times.
I was gonna say, and Feige had the advantage of he was the producer on the other Marvel movies, the Spider-Man and the X-Men movies. Like, he was involved with them.
He was involved. He was a producer because he was working for Marvel.
But what I'm saying is he had the advantage of seeing what worked and didn't work before Marvel was put on the line.
Well, okay. By the same token, so is Peter Safran. Peter Safran produced Shazam. He produced Black Adam. He produced both Suicide Squad movies.
Right.
So he has been in the fold for a minute.
Yeah.
Right. He's been here. He has also had. It's very similar. It's very, very similar. The only difference is Feige was kind of on his own, whereas this is a filmmaker and a producer working together. Which does change things.
It does.
But it's also this gigantic corporate clusterfuck, and David Zaslav, I don't know, man. I don't think he's doing a great job personally,
Yeah. I also kind of worry that, like, I believe Kevin Feige has a vision, but when it comes to creative decisions within the movies, he probably lets the filmmakers make those, as long as they fit in with
sometimes I would say.
Well, as long as it fits in with his overall vision.
Yeah, I kind of worry with Werewolf by Night. Like he just let that guy do almost what he wanted.
Yeah, but that one doesn't really matter as much. Let us not forget the Thor bath from Asia.
Yeah, which Whedon complained about, but
it was bad.
It was bad. It didn't make sense.
No.
Oh, well, all this is going on. By the way, I'm going to go take a bath to have a vision. Like,
it was an extended trailer for the MCU Phase 2.
I mean, if something had happened where, like, when he was in battle, he got knocked out and had the vision.
No, it's
like, okay, all right. Anyway, like him flying off to do it just made no sense. Anyway, what I'm getting at is, though, James Gunn is a filmmaker who has a vision.
Mm-hmm.
and about how to make a movie. And hopefully that doesn't overshadow like other creatives. And that's why I'm kind of wondering, because of this whole thing with Patty Jenkins, it was like, he was like, well, I'm a filmmaker too, and this is what I think. And did they butt heads, you know?
It's possible, because Spielberg notoriously, as a producer, would butt heads with filmmakers sometimes.
Yeah.
Like him and Tobe Hooper clashed but meshed on the set of Poltergeist, to the point where the movie completely feels like a Spielberg Hooper thing. Like, you know, it feels like their bizarre love child.
Right.
But that don't always work as well. Well, look at Lucas and Spielberg. Like, that's a perfect example of a grouping that does work.
Yep.
You know?
So here's a very weird thing that includes DC. So Warner Brothers or Warner Media owns Otter Media. Otter Media owns Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth owns Ruby. RWBY.
Like Russian nesting dolls.
Right. So the Ruby series was originally created by a guy named Monty Ohm, who was probably one of the greatest action animators of all time. Specifically for computer animation. He did action scenes that were dynamic and amazing, and just, you know, people kind of really miss him. He passed away, but Rooster Teeth is now having a crossover with the Ruby universe with DC, which is coming out soon. So like there's still, and I would have thought that might have gotten canceled considering all this other stuff, but this is the animated side of things. And I don't know how, I mean, I'm assuming Gunn and company are in charge of that too, but they're having Ruby Justice League. It's a limited series featuring crossover between Ruby and the Justice League.
Is Ruby anime?
See, now there was something.
Oh God, please.
Ruby. No. It just the history. Like Ruby is computer generated. Computer generation is usually pretty bad, but Ruby was incredible because Monty Ohm was in charge of it. People sort of considered that anime, but now today, this year, an anime came out where they redid Ruby, but as official animation.
See, I just wanted to see if John was trying to just bring anime back into this.
No, I'm not trying to, but I thought it was interesting that
the story
like,
works.
Yeah, but it's like, that's a weird crossover.
It is.
And yet that one is going forward for some reason. I mean, it'd be an interesting crossover.
I'm guessing.
But there's like Warner Media trying to bring in the anime community, which is interesting too.
I'm going to say that that's something that was already in production and probably.
Well, yeah, it started in 2021. So.
Yeah, and there's probably already millions of dollars into the production, so they're not going to kill it. And it's something that should make money. It might be one of the first things that ends up on Amazon Prime.
Well, and the thing is, like, again, like Warner Media owns Rooster Teeth, which owns Otter Media, which owns Rooster Teeth, which owns it. So it's kind of internal money, which is, internal money is kind of fungible.
The nesting dolls of Warner.
Yeah, I wonder how many other places are owned by Warner Media that I should do a dive into that. That'd be interesting to see just how much is now in under their auspices.
So long story short, no one knows what's going on. James Gunn said no one knows what's going on because we don't know what's going on.
And we have and we have faith in him.
For now. I'll have faith in him when the first couple movies under his tenure come out.
We'll see with the first movie. We should be able to see, right? I mean,
right, and it doesn't and that's the thing. The stuff coming out next year doesn't count because that's all pre him taking over. So,
well, they could do reshoots and stuff. Like they could really mess with the Flash thing in order to like wrench the continuity, like wrench the universe into the direction they want.
I'm still wondering if that movie's going to see the light of day.
Yeah, this whole thing makes me really doubt that this movie even comes.
Yeah.
Wow. And we've talked about before, like taking a bath on that much money, like the Batgirl thing was a couple of million, but this would be like,
yeah. But here's the question that I think you have to ask yourself. I mean, I understand you're millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars into producing this movie, but how much does it cost to distribute it and advertise it? Like, and people aren't going to go see it because of him.
I think they have underestimated just how much people have come to hate that dude. I really do.
Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, do you just say, shelve it for now and we'll sell DVDs in 5 years?
what's funny is we haven't heard any news about Ezra Miller lately. How much you want to bet that they've got him in a bunker somewhere?
Oh,
Buffalo Bill got him, and he's in a well in some house in Missouri.
Yeah.
Put the lotion in the basket.
I'm reading that right now, so it's fresh in my mind.
All right. And then the only other news article, this is for me. I know I saw something a couple years ago about this, but now it's come back up again. Remo Williams, the series is in works from Sony Pictures Television.
Oh my God. Okay, first you have to start with technically.
Me and my big mouth. Continue.
Oh so my God! No. Remo Williams was like there. It was a bunch of pulp novels. Like
the Destroyer.
I used to, the Destroyer, and I used to sell them when I worked for them. I used to work for Walden Books way back in the day, and we used to sell them, and there were like over 100 of them. The guy was popping them out left and right. And it was entertaining.
Love those guys.
Cool. But then you know who Fred Ward is, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was in Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins in the which was a movie.
1985.
Right. But it was also a movie that had Wilford Brimley, but it also had, what was it? I think it was it Joel Grey? Who was the one with the terrible Oriental makeup on?
Asian.
It was Joel Grey. Yes.
Asian.
Fine.
We don't say Oriental.
I'm sorry, I'm old, but I don't mean it.
Orientals are rugs.
No, yes, it was almost as bad as Mickey Rooney. Except that Joel Grey played Chun. He played it very well though, and Chun is a really awesome character. So, like this it had Kate Mulgrew in it too, from Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah, so
before she was a thing. So yeah, this could be big because this is the
my introduction was I saw the movie and I liked it, and my dad was like, "Oh well, if you like that, it's based on these series of books called The Destroyer." My dad was a big reader; like he would read a book a week all the time. So like he had a bunch of them and he gave them to me, and I mean they're pulp. They're definitely pulp books. Like you could tell they're shot out real quick. But they're fun, they're fun little books, and I'm kind of excited for this. I want to, will they do it justice? Because the movie's kind of like the movie. It has the same feel, but it's not exactly based on one of the books, So
that's okay, Jet. We've gone a long way with Bond with that. Like it's been a while since we've had a Bond movie based on one of Ian Fleming's books.
This was Warren Murphy and Richard Sapir, and the first novel was published in 1971. Although the manuscript, they completed the manuscript in 1963. So, but the concept is something that could really, like the movie did pretty well, and it's a fun concept.
Yeah, it's a very fun concept.
The concept is that there is this secret government organization that handles assassinations or keeping democracy from being destroyed. So the thing is that they have this one guy who is master of this secret martial art, Chun, and he needs a protege. They need another person on the team because the team's like only 4 people.
Right.
So they kill Fred Ward's character, kill with air quotes, give him plastic surgery, turn him into Remo Williams. That's his new name. And he becomes like a protege assassin.
Yeah.
Who's learning these secret arts. The only difference, the only crazy thing is that it turns out that he is an avatar of the Destroyer, and like he takes to the teachings like a fish to water, and he becomes really, really powerful. I mean, he's a super powerful character. It's pretty, but it's fun the way it's written. So hopefully they can keep that.
So think of it as not a spy, but like like a secret organization meets an 70s karate movie.
Yeah, like a John Wickish.
Yeah,
works for me.
But there's like shape-shifting androids and like the people they go after. It gets really crazy.
It sounds like urban fantasy before urban fantasy was a thing.
in a way.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah.
It would work. That would actually work in this market. I think it's a good idea.
With Kung Fu. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, or think of it like the character that they made Killmonger in the movie, but he's a master of Kung Fu, and he's destroying other nations with the
comic book movies are basically urban fantasy stories.
Yeah. So,
but the movie, I like the movie's still worth watching. I think
you've never seen it, JD?
No, never even heard of it till you guys just talked about it.
Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins. It's right up there with Buckaroo Banzai Across the Fifth Dimension or Across the Eighth Dimension.
Yes.
Like a bunch of
You've seen
others.
Buckaroo Banzai, right, JD?
Buckaroo Banzai, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's right up there. It's a fun movie. It's a quick watch, but I was disappointed when they never came out with the second movie because it's called The Adventure Begins. You know, they had plans and it fell apart. Yeah.
It's always like when you call your movie Part 1. It's like being bold.
Yeah, true. You're kind of tempting the fates with that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited for this. I kind of hope it comes to fruition, and I can't wait. I mean, it all depends on who they cast and how they're going to distribute it too. Like, is this going to be? This is one of those things that's going to be on Netflix or Prime or something like that. That.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's the news, and the reason that's all the news is because remember, guys, I went to New York Comic Con and I got a bunch of interviews.
Yep.
Well, I hadn't released them all, so
probably should do that.
We got 2 interviews for you, real quick here.
Let the hounds out. Sorry.
I'm actually going to start with this one first. It's Erik, Burnham, and Sarah Myer, Erik is the writer, Sarah is the artist for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures.
Gross.
From IDW. So this is a comic that is based on the 80s, late 80s, early 90s cartoon that we all grew up to.
IDW does a lot of those.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. And I have to say, Sarah Myers is one of the most fun people I've ever interviewed because she loves all this stuff. She loves the Turtles. She loved the cartoon. She was just excited. This is her first major comic that she's worked on. And she was a lot of fun to talk to. So I won't build it up too much. Here is Erik and Sarah.
All right. We are once again at the IDW booth, and we are with Erik Burnham, writer extraordinaire, and Sarah Myer, colorist for Saturday Morning Adventures, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There you go.
So first question I've been asking everyone, how are you enjoying the convention this year?
Well, it's fantastic. It's always a great energy at New York Comic Con, and I wish I could match it, but there's not enough coffee in the world. But I'm having a great time. I love being in just the mess of comics love, because I live in an area without any comic shops or fans, so it's just it's recharging for me. I'm loving it.
This is not my first convention by a long shot, but this is my very first New York Comic Con.
Okay.
And I am absolutely thrilled to be here because I love New York City, and I've always wanted to come to New York Comic Con. So this is one hell of a way to have a first year at New York Comic Con, for sure.
Yeah, and it's great. I don't know if you were here last year. They had it last year, 2021, but it wasn't the same. Obviously, none of the publishers were here. It was half the attendance as normal, and it was nice to be back with people, but it felt sad. This is so much different. It's so much more energy. It's great.
It's true.
Yeah.
So, Saturday Morning Adventures, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Obviously, it's a take on the original '80s cartoon. Was this something that you guys proposed as a story idea, or how did that come about?
Well, in this case, it was something that Tom Waltz, one of the editors at IDW and a longtime writer of the Ninja Turtles book, he's wanted to do it forever, and he has thought it was a great idea, and he mentioned it every once in a while. IDW did a G.I. Joe Saturday Morning Adventures, which I wrote, and that was received really well, and that was kind of the wedge that got them to say, okay, we'll try it with something else. We'll try it with Ninja Turtles. It's the 35th anniversary of the cartoon, so it was the perfect time to do it. And he just said, do you have any ideas? Are you interested in doing it? You want to pitch? I said, let's do that. And it's just that simple. Lucky confluence of him saying, "We're going to do it now. Do you want to be involved?" Well, of course I want to be involved.
How do you like being involved with this project? Were you a Turtles fan growing up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was a very fast, very surreal dream come true. So basically, I had just wrapped work on a graphic novel with First Second. And then I had for a long time had a pipe dream, like a bucket list dream, of I want to work on one official Turtles thing. And I got contacted to do a variant cover for issue number 3 in Saturday Morning Adventures, cover C. And I figured that would be the first and last official Turtles thing I did. I loved doing it. And then out of the blue, just a little bit later, I got asked to be the colorist on this series, and I could not sign the contract fast enough. Because, having grown up with the series, that was a dream come true.
Yeah, I saw the blog post on your website about it. And it does come off that you're very excited to do this.
Oh, super excited. And all of my friends and family, they know how much I love Turtles, so when I was finally able to announce it, they were just like, "Oh, okay, now we know why you've been smiling and skipping around." They know.
And Sarah's just been crushing the pages too. Fantastic stuff. I couldn't tell you how big I was grinning when I was getting the pages in my inbox.
Oh, thank you. And I gotta say, legit working on this, I felt giddy like a child again, because I was reading Erik's scripts and looking at Tim Lottie's line art as I was tasked with coloring it. And I was sitting there in the dark in my apartment on my Cintiq working I get to read this story before anybody else. And it was so funny. It was so great. I was legitimately enjoying it just as a fan. And I feel like that excitement helped drive me while I was coloring it. So, yeah.
The Turtles are a property that has been reinvented many times over the years, and they go back to the original 80s cartoon. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you have to find ways to keep it relevant. The first issue deals with VR. They go into a VR world. Is it a challenge to try to make that version of the Turtles relevant to kids today?
I don't think so. The challenge for me was more doing the done-in-ones in 20 pages, getting the whole feel of that, because there's always more stuff you want to do. Oh, I could expand this. I could go further with this. But cutting it back was the trick. That was the challenge. As far as kids today, the cartoons are the same. Kids like everybody. They like humor and adventure working together. When it comes to the Ninja Turtles, those flavors mix well. And this was, as you said, reinvention. This was the first major reinvention of the Turtles from Mirage to this. Then this is the established one. People are familiar with it. And it just, people like the Turtles, pushing 40 years now, goodness sakes. And the elements have always been there and built on. And so all I have to do is not screw up, not broken. It's not broken. I don't need to fix it. That's all. Yeah. Trip over my words. I'm a real smart guy.
No. And it's funny too, because like you said, the cartoon was the first reinvention. I fell in love with the cartoon when I was a kid. My cousin had one of the original trades of it. He was like, yeah, the cartoon's nothing like the comic. I'm like, what? He lent it to me, and I'm like, wow, this is dark. This is very different than the cartoon.
Yep. Several years after I had been loving the cartoon, somebody passed me a copy of one of the issues of Return to New York, and I'm flipping through and I'm like, oh my, this is very different. It's very cool, but it's very different. I don't know.
Yeah, watch the 87 episode, or 87 cartoon episode, Donatello's Degree. Then go back and read the original Mirage bit where Donatello's the one who kills Shredder. And it's oh yeah.
Right, and they did a crossover kind of they did a multiverse thing in the cartoon where they brought in all the different versions at one point.
Turtles Forever?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of temptation to do a story like that?
Not yet. It's something that would be a lot of fun to do at some point in the future if everybody was into it, if Nickelodeon was, if IDW was. I've done a lot of multiversal crossovers in comics in the past, so it would be a blast. But as far as it goes, we've got our 4-issue miniseries. If the sales are good and the fans are wanting it, we'll be happy to do more and more of this specifically. And if it happens to come to a crossover, I wouldn't complain.
as a super fan and working on the art, what's something you want to see out of the series?
Oh man, Jeff Whitman and I were actually talking about this. How much we both enjoyed the 2003 4 Kids animated series, as well as, of course, the 87 Turtles.
Right.
So I don't know if there'd be any sort of legal finagling that might have to go on because of the different studios that produced them,
Sure.
but that would be really awesome to see that crossover again. Give it a second shot from
Right.
the Turtles Forever. I think that'd be fun. It'd be nice to combine that too with the 2012 Nickelodeon CGI Turtles and maybe down the line Rise.
Well, actually, along those lines, working on a licensed property like this, do you ever feel like there's anything that ties your hands creatively?
No. When you start playing in the sandbox, you know what the rules are, and when you know what the rules are, so long as you don't break them, you can do whatever you want. So I mean, just there is occasionally if Nickelodeon has something that they don't want us to do, they'll tell us ahead of time.
Right.
If there's a change that needs to be made, they'll communicate that to us. But for the most part, it's just like, here's what the Turtles can do, here's what they can't do, here's the parameters of the universe, which is different from the 2012 and the 87 and the IDW Prime. They all slightly subtle shades of difference. But no, so long as we're following the rules for that iteration, it's been pretty open. They've been just excited to do everything that we've proposed.
Okay. One of the questions that we like to ask our guests, we normally end the podcast by saying, "Don't let your cape get caught in the door," which has come to mean don't let your shortcomings or anything get in your way of achieving your goals. So, what's something that you've overcome to achieve one of your goals?
Oh man, that's a good question.
That's a really good question. I like that it's, what are your shortcomings? I want to know how did you unfail? No, honestly, I am a very shy, socially anxious individual. It's weird. My career before writing was in radio for a while in retail. So 2 things that required me to do a lot of public speaking or speaking to the public, but my nature is to, be introverted and hide away, which is not something you can do at conventions. It's not something you can do as a freelancer, chasing after work and pitching stuff and, selling yourself. So, overcoming my default Nordic nature is what I've done just to become a writer.
Well, I gotta say this has been a dream of mine since I was a child, a very small kid, watching The Little Mermaid in theaters.
Okay.
That besides Turtles was my first memories, And I guess one of the things I had to overcome was that's a long game to play,
Yes.
I'm 36, so that's what, that's 34 years of okay, let's keep going with this. And, comics is not always easy to break into. The arts is not always easy to break into. And I've been doing conventions in Artist Alley since I was a teenager in 2002, 2003.
Okay.
And there were times when I really wanted to give up on it. And I would get discouraged, I think, by seeing other artists who were definitely way levels above my skill level. And I guess one of the best things that helped me get through that and to not give up just because of that out of frustration was to realize, okay, you're never going to be the best artist. You're never going to be the worst artist. There's always somebody who's a little bit or a lot better at something than you are. And there's always going to be something that you're better at than the next artist over. So you got to look at the world in shades of gray instead of this win it or nothing, And once I started to shift my perspective from just thinking I'm not as good as that artist, I guess maybe I should really throw in the towel. Once I realized, wait, there's a lot of nuances here. There's a lot of things to learn about. That artist over there is amazingly charismatic. How can I learn from them in connecting to my audience in Artist Alley? hey, that artist there does great line art. How can I learn from them in doing my own inks, you know? And I think that was one of the biggest, I guess, boons to helping me to not give up, you know?
Right.
Yeah, sorry, that was a very long answer.
Oh,
but...
no.
It was articulate, and it was much better than mine, so you win.
No. Actually, Erik has been really, really sweet and has been like showing me the ropes because I've never been on big events like this.
Yeah.
And Erik, I never would have guessed that you feel like shy or nervous because he's super like nice and charismatic, I think, with everybody. So he's been a really great example. Yeah.
I think you answered the question, but another question that I like to ask, especially people who are experienced, there's somebody listening to this who wants to get started in the business. What advice would you give to someone who wants to get started?
Well, the best advice for any kind of storytelling is first, finish. You got to finish the story that you're working on. Otherwise, there's nothing there. You can't improve something that's unfinished. It needs to be done, and then you can work on it. It can't remain in your head. It's got to be started. It's got to be finished on paper, a tangible form, whether it's writing or art. And the second thing, suggestion that I give, comic specific for writers, be able to write small. Be able to write a story that's 1 page. Be able to write a story that's 4 or 8 or just 20. Because I have heard, well, my story can't be told in any less than 12 issues. Well, what if you don't get those 12 issues? What if a publisher doesn't give it to you? What if you can't afford to do it yourself? Be able to tell the smaller story and build up. And maybe you need to cut or condense. It's a skill that's valuable in writing, and you learn it by practicing small. So those are the things that I recommend. But definitely the biggest thing, paramount, finish what you start.
That's a hard answer to follow because that's really helpful. I guess it's a little general, but try to be as well-rounded as possible, like as both a storyteller and writer and artist, you know. But the more you get to experience in your life, I think the more well-rounded and more versatile you'll be as an artist and a storyteller. So don't be afraid to like take a break sometimes from your art and live a little, you know?
True. And then the question we normally like to wrap up on is, how do you measure success?
With a ruler? I honestly, I mean, honestly, I love what I do. I've enjoyed making comics and writing for so long. I have such a blessed life because of it. It brings me peace to create, and it brings me joy. So, I mean, when that's what you're doing to pay the bills, that's pretty good definition of success.
Yes, what he said. Seriously.
Okay. So, finally, where can people find you guys online?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Myer at SMYER Comics. And my website is sarahmyer.net, SARAHMYER.net. Thank you.
Twitter and Instagram, my @ is just my name, Erik Burnham, ERIK, Burnham. There we go. It's very simple, but it's that K that throws people.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
Oh, thank you.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. Thanks for that, guys. And then the last interview this was actually the last interview I did at New York Comic Con too, is Colleen Venable. And she has a graphic novel out called Kate and the Cat Sitter. And that is a graphic novel that's out from Random House. They're getting into the comic book genre now, doing the graphic novels. And basically it's about a girl who was a cat sitter, speaking of cats, and that
she just held up a cat. Was that a kitten or a cat?
That's a cat. She's 9 years old.
Oh, okay.
That's
random cat. I was just all of a sudden
that finds out that the cats all have superpowers. It's an all ages book and it's a lot of fun. So,
oh my God, that reminds me of an old webcomic called Sluggy, where they did the kitten arc. It was poor little kittens, they've lost their mittens, and now you all must die.
So, without further ado, here's Colleen.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Okay, we are here and in the press room.
The Crystal Palace.
The Crystal Palace at New York Comic Con. We are talking with Colleen Venable, author of Katie the Cat Sitter.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Good to be here. I'm so glad this con is back. Look at all the costumes.
I was about to say, what are you thinking of the convention this year? Have you been here before?
I
Were
have.
you here in 2020 or 2021, I mean?
I was not. I skipped 2021, but I've been here every single year other than that, including the first year when it got shut down by the fire department. If you were here that year. Yep. I was here that year. Yeah, I was outside for a while.
Yeah, I was here last year. It didn't feel the same, obviously.
Yeah.
It does feel like we're back, though.
Absolutely.
You know? I mean, not everyone's here. Dark Horse and DC don't have booths set up.
And you can feel that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Marvel's here. Warner Brothers does have stuff set up, so you know, it's been fun. It's been crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Seriously. And this is one of my first years not doing a table or a booth. So I have a panel
okay.
tomorrow, and I'm going to go to panels, like other people's panels. This is like very foreign to me because usually I'm working.
So, okay, for the people that are listening, what is the elevator pitch for Katie the Cat Sitter?
Oh. Okay, how do I say it? I haven't said this in a while. 12-year-old girl trying to raise money for camp, and she does some odd jobs in her building, and her neighbor offers her to cat sit. This is a long elevator ride. Which is very odd because her building is a pet-free building.
Okay.
And even more odd when she finds out her neighbor has 217 cats. And they are not normal cats. These are cats with strange powers. And she's starting to think maybe her neighbor is not who she thinks she is. So I'll stop there, I guess. So it's very much like, it's very goofy. It's very much inspired. I was a big fan of The Tick growing up, and I loved the wacky superheroes of that world. But I also love angsty books about 12-year-olds and dealing with friendship and dealing with all the parts of being 12 that are so hard.
So what was the inspiration then for the book?
I mean, partially, it's pretty obvious. I love Catwoman.
Okay.
I loved Eartha Kitt's Catwoman specifically, and I was always like, first of all, why doesn't she have like hundreds of cat minions? Because that would be so cool. And also, like, I always thought of her as not really a villain. And I wanted to have a book that kind of like blurred that line, because in my book, the Mousetress, not Catwoman, of course, the Mousetress is an animal rights activist. So the stuff she's doing is, yes, it's things that might from the outside thing look like crimes, but they're actually not. She's saving these animals, or she's exposing people doing illegal things. So she's kind of in some ways more like, you know, she's a hero. And I love the idea that there are no real heroes, there are no real villains, there's gray areas everywhere. So that was kind of the inspiration. But I also love the idea of, like, how do you become these heroes? You never find out, like, unless it's something where they, like, fell into radioactive goo or, you know, things like that. So it's like, how does a 12-year-old train to be a sidekick? How do they become their own hero? And there's a lot more of that in the books coming up, where you see the training, and maybe Katie's not the greatest at it. And I think that's also very realistic to being a kid, and like, it's hard to learn new things.
So how much of you is in Katie?
I actually am more like a side character that you don't see that much yet, but there's a character, Lupe, who is like, she is probably the character that every single adult in her life is like, oh my gosh, please just calm down. She's very hyper. She's very crafty. I'm not as angsty as Katie. I'm just, I love Katie, and a lot of Katie was inspired by, like, growing up, I didn't have a lot of money, and, you know, I did do odd jobs all the time to help pay for anything I wanted. You know, I didn't get an allowance at all, so if I wanted to do anything, I had to, you know, water my neighbor's plants, or I had to, like, weed their garden, or I had to pet sit, which is, again, the inspiration for that. So there is part of me that's Katie, but I think she is a little more serious than I am in some ways. Yeah.
That's a very honest answer.
Thank you.
So, okay. When we end the podcast, we normally say, don't let your cape walk the door, which has become our motto, meaning don't let shortcomings or things get in your way of achieving your goals.
Yeah.
So what is something you've overcome in your life to achieve your goals?
Oh, man. I mean, a big thing is definitely growing up without much. You know, my parents both worked jobs. I was a latchkey kid, just like Katie in the book. I stayed at the library every day after school as free babysitting. So I was there for 4 hours. Poor librarians. I feel so bad for them. But they figured out what kind of books to give me to kind of calm me down and get me to really focus. And I think that was a big thing to like realize that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you have. You know, there's a world of books out there. And if you try, you can actually make this a career, which, you know, I wrote like 30 books before I ever got anything published. And I think just growing that thick skin and like enjoying the process. And I think that's the thing that puts me apart from other writers is I'm laughing the entire time I'm writing. I am having so much fun. And I think it comes across in the pages. So that's definitely something I had to overcome, and just getting over that self-doubt of showing people. Like, I always knew I loved to write, but I didn't like showing people because you don't want to have that rejection. You know, you don't want to have that person telling you that the thing you spent months and months working on is horrible. And
True.
Yeah.
So what's something that, I mean, obviously this is written for young children.
Yeah.
What's something you hope that they take away from the book?
I hope they take away, like, you know, gaining confidence, doing things that you're maybe not great at right away, and just kind of learning, and also realizing that every single person out there, there's no such thing as a good guy and a bad guy.
Right.
There's some people that make it pretty clear they might be one or the other, but in general, like, everybody's, you know, different, and you don't know what's happening in people's lives behind well, in this case, secret entrances, but yeah. I think just like giving everybody the benefit of the doubt and just learning and growing up and believing in yourself.
True. That's something that's very difficult to do, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's something you do have to learn young.
Yeah. And you got to work on it your whole adult life, too. I mean, I don't know about you, but I still have days I wake up and I'm like an intense imposter syndrome, being like, did I really make a book? Like, is this my name? Like, whenever anybody tells me they read my book, I have a moment of being like, do you know my mom? Like, how'd you find out about it? You know, it's like, I still don't believe it. I still don't believe that there's kids all over reading these books, because I never met an author growing up. I never, you know, I thought they were all dead. I was like, authors are alive. Oh my gosh, I could be one. Oh my gosh. And I never knew that like these paths existed. I didn't know that like, if I knew colorist was a job, oh my gosh, I would have been a comic book colorist. Absolutely. I'm glad I went this path, but still, yeah.
So, sorry. So, I'm trying to think, like, sorry, that's the question. You have one book out now.
Two. There are two out.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
KD2. Best friends for never.
Do you have a plan? Do you know how far you want to go with this?
I do. We are going to book 5.
Okay.
It takes Steph Yu, who does all the books. She draws the books. It takes them a very long time to draw, and they are tired. So, but I already finished book 4. The script is off. Steph is drawing it. I'm trying to figure out what book 5 is, and there's definitely possibility for more beyond that, but we know definitely 5 is going to be it. Like, it's building up to something really, really cool, and I got to figure out exactly how that works. So I'm very nervous to start writing book 5, but I'm going to start writing very soon. So there's a lot more coming, and it's very hard for me to contain my excitement. Like, I keep talking about Lupe, who's a big character in book 3, and everybody's like, oh, she was in like 4 panels, and I was like, you're going to get to know Lupe. So,
do you have any other irons in the fire, any other projects that you're working on?
I have ones I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but I will get to talk about soon. I actually have a humor book for adults coming out, which has got a cartoonist doing the art, which I can't announce yet, but I'm really excited about this cartoonist.
Okay.
This is like the hard part with publishing. You got to be quiet about things for a while. That is actually called the Swayze Year.
Okay.
And it's a book that goes every year from age 35 to age 100 and has one person every year that got their big break at that age. And it's really funny, and it kind of has the tone of like your best friend being like, shut up, you're not old. But I'm really, really excited about it. So, that was just an odd non-kids book I'm doing. So, and I have a couple other things lined up. So there will be more, and hopefully soon I can talk about it.
I actually love that idea because I'm obviously a comic book fan, but always a fan of Stan Lee himself.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people don't realize, Fantastic Four, the first #1, wasn't published until he was in his 40s.
Yeah, which everybody's like, oh, if you haven't made it in your 20s, it's never going to happen.
Exactly.
It's like, no, like Tolkien did Lord of the Rings when he was 62.
Correct.
Like, you got some time. And it's a really fun, inspirational book, but also just like, it's a great chance to highlight a lot of people that I've always admired and, find stories of people like, there was like this guy that's 72 and he like took up kayaking randomly.
Wow.
And he wound up being the best in the world. And everyone he was competing against was in their 20s or 30s. And he was like, do-do-do-do-do, and just like, he never knew that he was like meant for kayaking. So it's like the stories like that you find out, there's a guy that climbs Mount Fuji every year barefoot. And he's done it up to age 99, It's a nice thing to be like, if you really believe in something and you really want to do it, there's so much time.
So I'm going to ask you the obvious question you're always asked. Who inspires or influences your writing?
Oh, man. I mean, I actually read a lot of plays, I actually went to college for playwriting, which taught me a ton about writing comics. So I've been a huge fan of, Jules Pfeiffer's old plays, Edward Albee, a lot of, people that have like kind of that dark sense of humor, kind of goofy. But I'm also like a big comedy nerd. I'm very inspired by Mel Brooks, by Gilda Radner, and I just really love like Madeline Kahn. So in terms of the comics world, I think Victoria Jameson is probably one of my absolute favorites. Roller Girl blew my mind. All's Fair in Middle School. If you haven't read that and you're into Ren Fairs, it is so delightful. And also When Stars Were Scattered, like broke my heart and made me cry. So she's absolutely one of my favorite comic book creators making books right now. And there's so many more. I mean, I'm just like Mariko Tamaki, Amiko Superstar. I give a shout out to that book every time I can because it was done by, oh my gosh, I'm going to name the name of they did Plain Jane, Cecil Castellucci's book. It was the DC imprint that existed for like a day. Was it like Minx or something? I forgot the name, but they did an imprint, I want to say in 2006 or 2007. It was all female cartoonists. Really, really great lineup, and it closed within a year. But it was like, that's where Cecil Castellucci did Plain Janes. That's where Mariko did this amazing book too. So I always think like, I want that imprint to exist.
So,
sorry.
All right, I'm gonna ask you the other question. I'm sure you get this kind of a lot, but it is a different world today. But as a female writer, and I wouldn't even say, especially with children's books, it's not male dominated. But comics is still pretty much male dominated.
Yes.
What would you say to a young girl who want to get into this? To like, how can they get started?
Well, the best thing that I love seeing is there's so many colleges now that actually offer like degrees in cartooning. And if you look at the number of students now, male to female ratio, it's almost 50-50. Like, I think 10 years from now, we're going to have a whole generation of like female and non-binary like cartoonists that are going to just blow everybody out of the water. Well, I'm sure there'll be some good male cartoonists too, but it's amazing. And I think because these are girls that grew up on manga. They're girls that grew up on Raina Telgemeier's books. They had these like, idols to watch and be like, that is a possible career, which didn't exist that much when I was a kid. Like, I had to hide the fact I read comics, Or like if anybody asked me, I'd be like, it's a soap opera. X-Men is not really a comic, which I still love. But yeah, it definitely was like, I found out as an adult, all my other female friends that read comics in high school, and none of us told each other.
That's funny. I've never thought about that.
It's cool to know comics because it's like I was a big fan of She-Hulk growing up, and I loved the fact she broke the fourth wall. I am so into that nerdy meta stuff. I know Daredevil does it too, but She-Hulk does it better, whatever. Or not Daredevil.
Deadpool.
Yeah, Deadpool does it. No, Daredevil does not do it. Sorry, I was thinking the most recent episode. Deadpool is cool. He's fine.
Don't spoil it. I've been here. I have not watched.
I will not spoil it at all.
Episode, and I know that's the one with Daredevil in it.
I will not spoil anything. I'm very big in not spoiling, but it's just really nice to have that be so mainstream. Because I had a framed first issue of She-Hulk on my wall for the last 20 years. Oh, wow. And most of the time people think it's a joke. They think it's a spoof. They see it on my wall and they're like, oh, look at that thing you got made. Like, it's a fake Hulk. And I was like, no. I have to explain She-Hulk. So I think we're living in a world where it's actually cool to be into comics. Yeah. And that wasn't true in the 80s and 90s. Now it's like you go to Barnes & Noble and what is one of the biggest sections? Like comics and manga. Like the manga aisle is giant too. So It's a different world, and it's exciting.
I actually remember coming to my first Comic-Con in 1999 and just being in a place filled with people who love the same thing that I did.
Yeah.
And you feel comfortable. It's so different than anywhere else I've ever been. And then I do have to say, like, first X-Men movie came out, then Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then the Fantastic Four, it became pop culture.
Yeah.
And it's grown, and now it's okay to say, yeah, I like comic books.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the number of people that understand Loki, the number of people that like know about the Mandalorian now, like it's like things that you used to like know as a kid, but you're like, I'm this like quiet nerd that I was never quiet, but I was quietly a nerd. I was like outwardly a jock, which I find funny. But you know, that's how I paid my way through college, was I was a swimmer, which is so weird to me. It's like, oh, but always a book nerd and always really, really loved all these things. And you know, Star Wars is so big now too, and it's the biggest things in the world are nerd culture things. The richest people in the world are all nerds. It's a very strange shift. Granted, they maybe could use their money better rather than going to space, but you know, no judgment here.
Or in giant spaceship shaped like penises.
Yeah, that was a choice. That was an absolute choice. Someone must have noticed, right? That couldn't have been like they saw the photos and they were like, "Oh God!" Like someone noticed, right?
All right. Well, the question that we normally like to wrap up on is, how do you measure success?
Oh man, I mean, for me, I kind of measure it both in my own happiness and in hearing from kids and hearing that one of my books, you know, helped them through a hard time or really made them laugh or made them happy, or just like they get so excited when the new one's coming out. So it's making those connections and thinking of myself as that kid that found these books, you know, like the Calvin and Hobbes when I was a kid. I was really into Muppet comics, you know, I was really into Peanuts. And the idea that I'm having the same impact on kids is just, that's success there. So I think it doesn't matter for me the money. It doesn't matter for me, you know, getting things made into movies. I already have success because I know that the librarians out there have these books in the libraries and so many kids are reading them. Like, I always feel bad that I get more excited when I see my book in a library than I do in a bookstore. Because I'm like, for me as a kid, I owned 2 books. That's all I owned. And they were hand-me-downs. Right. And one was a monster at the end of this book. The other one was a book called Believing in Yourself about the guy that invented the cure for rabies. I don't know. Don't read that one. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. Go look it up.
Okay.
But we didn't have any money for things like that. So for me, like, thinking of my book as being one of the ones in the library that I spent all that time in every single day, it just blows my mind. Like, I feel like I could retire tomorrow and be like, I did it. I'm not going to because I love writing, but I feel like that's the way I measure success, like happiness and spreading happiness. And I love doing funny books because there's something so amazing about being able to make someone laugh that just is the greatest power in the world. And, you know, I feel really grateful for being able to put these books out there and have kids read Katie all over.
That's awesome. So for those listening, where's the best place that they can find Katie?
I mean, at your library, at your bookstore. You can also go to the Random House website. If you look for Katie the Cat Sitter, they have a list of all the different places to buy it there. Yeah, that's probably the best place. Or if you happen to be at, you know, I'm going to be in Mice in Boston and Boston Book Fest. And so I'm at cons. So if you ever want about a con, come up to the table and say hi. It's always great. And yeah, that's probably the best place to find everything.
And where can people find you online?
I am at Colleen AF on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and everything. In case people are wondering, my middle name is Ann Felicity. So I have a cousin named Colleen Venable, so we always go by our middle names. So.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This is great.
Sorry, Colin. No, Colleen. That's right. Duh. I can't talk tonight. All right. Well, thank you for that, Colleen. And yes, that's all the interviews. There is going to be, obviously the holidays are coming up and we're going to take our 2 weeks off like we always do. But there will be a special episode that comes out while we're on break, which will be the press room I did for the Mortal Kombat Snowblind, where I talked to the cast of those guys, of that cartoon. So that's it, guys. That is the show this week. So let's wrap it up with some recommendations, or what did we learn this week? John, did we learn anything this week?
I learned that I should just not bother arguing about anime anymore. Apparently being in the community for 40 years doesn't count for anything. Like, everybody seems to not want to, they just want to hear their own opinions about that. And so yeah. Also, my recommendation, I just saw Bullet Train today while I was wrapping gifts.
I got the next book from the guy that wrote Bullet Train sitting downstairs waiting for me.
So that's the one with
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it was a really fun movie.
Is that the one where there's a lot of also weird cameos in it? Or is that Gray Man? What?
It's an action movie.
It's an action movie. Well, I know that Ryan Reynolds is involved in it because he had a 3-second cameo in
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of like little cameos I've heard in Bullet Train.
Yeah, and it's and based on the movie, I would say that JD is going to really enjoy the second book, and now I'm going to want to get that book.
Well, it's actually not. I don't think it's a sequel book. I think it's just another book from the writer.
Well, yeah, but even so, like if he wrote that Bullet Train, like he's got a fun style at least. I mean,
yeah, that's what I hear.
So and probably the book is better than the movie, even considering. So yeah, I would recommend that. It's on Netflix and it's really fun. It's a longish watch. I think it's almost 2 hours, but it was really, it's a popcorn movie. Get popcorn, sit down, and just enjoy it. It's a wild ride.
Okay.
On a bullet train, in fact.
All right. How about you, JD?
There's a lot of people out there that don't like John and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
fine.
you learned?
I mean, it's cool. I like hearing some criticism. Got to get better. So.
I like you, JD.
I like you too, John. So at least we have each other.
Yeah. You can kill me again anytime.
I can't wait to kill you again.
Any recommendations?
I am reading Silence of the Lambs, and I've read Red Dragon multiple times throughout my life. I've seen Manhunter many, many times. So I've always had this thing where that is the superior story, even though Silence of the Lambs gets all the credit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading Silence of the Lambs for the first time, and it's a really good book. I really like it a lot. It's excellent. Does an interesting job of creating sympathy for the devil, but in a way that you don't like, where he's still not a good guy, because it's really more of a Lecter book. And like Lecter steals the show in the book almost as much as in the original, as in the Jonathan Demme movie, but he does it in a way where you don't like sympathy. Like there's sympathy for the devil because he's interesting, but like at no point are you convinced he's the hero. So
okay,
it's a good book. It's a really good book. It's 30-some years old, but it's still excellent.
Cool. All right. I learned that I'm the only one on the show that's liked. It's a tough cross to bear, guys. It really is. I know I'm going to get so much shit for that on social media this week.
Whatever you say, fearless leader.
Yep.
And I like you guys.
Yes, master.
I like you guys.
Please don't give us the hose again.
Oh my God. And I can tolerate absences. It's fine.
Jesus.
And just remember, none of us are getting paid for this shit. All right.
Yeah, exactly. This is all a hobby.
Yeah, we do it to ourselves on purpose.
That's right. We're sadistic.
I will recommend that you go to superheroespeak.com where you can find the podcast every week. Links to all our social media at the top of the page. News, I've been going crazy trying to post news articles lately, so I'm gonna be 1 or 2 a day going forward. I found a great way to do it, and I'll explain that to these guys later. I don't want to give away all my secrets on air. Come on. And comic book reviews by our good friend Kristen. We just put one up the other day, Batman 130. There'll be more coming this week. So yeah, go check those all out. It's a fun place. It's a happening place. It's the place to be. Cool. I will also recommend, I just started watching it this week with my girlfriend. We're only a few episodes in. I am enjoying it so far. Wednesday. Now that I'm watching it with her, I can't jump ahead, and she said she won't jump ahead. So I'm like, okay. It's interesting. She's digging it, but she says it doesn't feel like the Addams Family to her. But she's also basing it on the television show, not the original strip.
This is much more based on the original comic strip.
Yeah. And it's also it's more based on the original comic strip, but also advancing the characters where Wednesday's not a kid anymore. She's now a teenager, and you're dealing with all the stuff that goes along with that too. So,
yep.
Yeah. And it's definitely made for a more modern audience, and I'm okay with that. You know, that's how this stuff works. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. I'm kind of curious how this mystery of the show turns out, but I won't spoil anything here. So, all right, that is it. So on that note, as always, thanks for listening, and don't let you keep caught in the door. Have a good week.